Hello people, I am back again much earlier than I thought I was going to be because I'm not as hot-headed today, but I am really sad and really just there's no shocked. I think shocked is the right word. I'm going to show you some things I've come across in the last 24 hours about this Sound of Freedom movie. I'm going to give you some background. I'm going to keep it on Jim Caviezel here. Some of you understand why. Some of you are going to be, your eyes are going to be opened. The background with me is I refuse to watch any Angel Studios movies, TV shows, anything that they put out. You may recognize that name from The Chosen, which just about every Christian watches. They'll watch it 5, 6, 7 times because they would rather be entertained more than they would rather go talk to their neighbors about Jesus. Angel Studios is a Mormon company, and I'm at that point in my life where like I said earlier in my other video, I'm watching where my money goes because it's super important right now. The Mormon, this company, Angel Studios, is run by all Mormons, and they know exactly what they're doing. They are not stupid. They're not a Christian religion. A lot of people think that they are, and you need to go do some studying. They are a cult, and they're a very rich cult, and they're just getting more of our money, and they are laughing all the way to the bank while people who are naive, and I hate to say it, but just ignorant, are supporting them and just handing over their money like they got all kinds of money. You know, if you got money to go to the movies, then give it to the poor people because they're better off with it. So anyway, so as you probably know, this movie, Sound of Freedom, there's a long backstory which isn't relevant. It was, you know, they bought it from Disney, I guess is what they did. But anyway, Angel Studios had the movie and was heavily promoting it on Facebook for, because they already had The Chosen viewers. So they figured, I mean, hey, we got all these people paying attention to us. Let's get them to go see this movie. So you've probably already heard how well it's doing in the movies. It outsold oh my gosh, what's that movie with Harrison Ford? I can't think of the name right now. But anyway, it just had an amazing opening weekend. We have conservatives like Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Charlie Kirk, and Matt Walsh all heavily promoting and saying, hey, go watch it. Everybody on Facebook is saying, everybody should go see this. And 99.99999% of people are saying that. And then that very rare person that some of them are involved in the trafficking were actually trafficked in the past, have paid attention to what's going on in this whole realm, and they know not to support this movie. And so those handful of people, they've been speaking out for a while. I did not know this. I'm just now paying attention because when something made me start looking stuff up. You know what? I didn't even go look it up. This woman's video popped up on my YouTube feed. And it's so funny how this happens sometimes. I don't think this is a coincidence, but I never heard of her before. She's a former trafficking victim. And I'm not going to say her name on here. I may one day. But so she had this video and she's talking about what's going on with the Operation Underground Railroad, which is Tim Ballard's organization. He's the one that is portrayed in the Sound of Freedom movie. And I'm like, what is she talking about? And she kept saying, go do your research, go do your research. So I did my research. This was yesterday, around this time yesterday. So it's been less than 24 hours. And I did sleep last night. But in the span of, I think, total maybe 2 hours, kind of going back and forth because I couldn't sit here and look at this without wanting to pull my hair out and just cry and scream and all kinds of other things. I came across so much information, and it's just really upsetting to me. And what's really upsetting is a number of people on like YouTube comments and Facebook comments. They're basically saying, if you don't support this movie and support this organization, then you're probably a trafficker, or you're you know, part of Hollywood, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's people that are paying attention and are doing the research, and look at this guy, not Jim Caviezel, but Tim Ballard, and they see something that other people don't see. You have to have an intuition and something inside you that says something's not right here. And not everybody has that. And that's why everybody's following Angel Studios and watching The Chosen 5, 6, 7 times, because, and there are a lot of people that have watched The Chosen, and they will tell you, I was convicted and I stopped watching it, and now I know why, and they will, you know, explain why. So there are people that are waking up and realizing what's going on. But there's way more people that aren't, and that are defending all this stuff. So it's really hard to get on, you know, YouTube and Facebook and say anything negative about any of this. So I ended up in a rabbit hole, is what happened. And I'm going to share some things with you. And here's the gist of this. It wasn't that one website said this, or one person said this, or, you know, this came from so many different places, and took me to so many different places, that there's something going on here, and it is evil. Okay, it just is. I'm going to share all the links down below so you can look at the pages and read them from top to bottom, but I'm just going to show you some bits and pieces of things that kind of ticked me off about the whole thing. So the first thing I came across was a website that had, I'll show you the website with you in a second. It had this video, and sorry, this is a picture of the video. So I'm going to show you the actual footage in just a second, but you probably know what those hand signals mean. It's a cult. It's demonic. It could be coincidence too, right? Jim Caviezel, everybody knows, oh, Jim Caviezel's, you know, Christian, you know. No, he's a Catholic. First of all, he's a Catholic. I'm just going to leave that there. So he did this, and then he turned to the side. This was a couple of seconds later. Somebody says something to him over here to the side, and then he turns around, and instead of doing that hand signal, he does this. It's almost like somebody said, hey, don't do that. And he said, oh. So also, I'm not going to share this whole clip, but he seems to be out of it. I don't know, this is from 2 years ago, and I know he was struck by lightning when he did the, oh my gosh, the Jesus, when he played Jesus. He had a lot of health problems and everything. And I don't know if it's coming from that, because supposedly I just watched an interview of him, and he said that he went to Cleveland Clinic and he got all better and everything. So I don't know. I don't know if he's on something. I don't know if he is emotionally just spent. But this interview and other interviews that I've seen, he is just, something's not right. But anyway, you can judge for yourself. You can watch him yourself. But here's the actual exchange. What I just showed you, here it is in video form.
There he is, folks. Let's hear it for Jim Caviezel. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
So that was weird. That's the very first thing, when I started going down this rabbit hole, that's the very first thing I came across, was that. And I said, oh my God, what the heck was that? So I read, let's see, on this website, okay, so this website had, now this is vice.com, so a lot of conservatives will say, oh, shit, I'm not even going to pay attention to what they say. And that's where you're going wrong, because the conservative people and the conservative websites are not going to tell you anything against this movement. They're just not. So you got to look at both sides. This is why people are so just ignorant sometimes. They don't know what they're talking about on both sides. Not just one side, but on both sides. So after that, let me go back. Okay, so here's a good picture for you. If you want to Google what that hand signal means, you can. But that tells you something right there. So on this page, if you go down, and you can read all this on your own. Okay, I want to talk about this for a second, because on this website, and here's where you have to use your brain sometimes. On this website, it says at the bottom, a whiteboard said to be drawn by Tim Ballard in 2019. So this is showing how basically This is like a book up here at the top. I think the name of a book that he was writing. And then different organizations that are a part of this whole rescue movement, I guess you could call it. And it all funnels down to timothyballard.com, and it shows money amounts here. All of this shows money, and it's kind of like a plan, like a master plan, if you will. But I honestly, my take on it is he could have done this. Somebody could have taken a picture of it, and he could be that stupid. Or this is something where somebody else was investigating what he was doing and where he was funneling money or moving money around, and this was their drawing of kind of what's going on. This is something I would do, because I'm very visual. I would do something like this to try to figure something out. You know, cops do it all the time when they're working on different cases and stuff. So, but anyway, I thought it was interesting. But I just figured this out a few minutes ago, because I was trying to go back to their website to see what the names of these organizations were, because supposedly, I think Glenn Beck is on the board of one of them, and there's people. It's basically like everybody that's on his board is like friends or family, and then I think some of the people that are on the boards of these smaller organizations that they contribute money to are also friends and family. And some of the accusations from the past were that he or his wife was like the CEO. I think it was his wife was the CEO of one of them and was getting money that way. But anyway, I just figured out, because I wanted to go, you can't really see the names on these things, so I wanted to go back to the website that I had looked at yesterday. And when I went to the website today, where is it? Okay, so here's the website today. I think they have redone their website, because I'm clicking around and I cannot, I don't think it looked like this yesterday. There was a page that showed all those different organizations, and I, for the life of me, cannot find it now. So I don't know if they changed the website or if they took that page off, but it's not there. I can't find it. I wanted to do some more research about each one of those, and I can't even do it now because it's gone. I don't know if that's on purpose from their end or not. So then the next thing I came across last night, this was an article from May of 2022. And just quickly, I'm going to tell you that the city of Norman, Oklahoma, oh, that's not the right article. I think that is, where is it? I'm going to close that one because I don't need it anymore. Okay, so this article, I'll just go ahead and talk about this one, and then I'll find the other one. This article is a long article about Tim Ballard, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. It pretty much kind of solidifies all the things that I was figuring out. I don't think there's anything on there I want to show you, but you do need to go and read that article. I've got to find, I thought I had it up here. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Sorry about that. Okay, so American Crime. The city of Norman, Oklahoma, Operation Underground Railroad wanted to give them $25,000 for their trafficking work, I guess, and they refused it. This was in 2021, and they refused the money because they had already seen that he was claiming to rescue children that they knew was not, it was either exaggerated or just not true. So I'll share that. You can read that. I'll share it down below. This right here is an article that it's a story written by a young Mormon woman. Her name is Meg Conley. Written in 2021. Tim Ballard brought her on a trip with him and she talks about it in this article. Just go read the article. She was a writer, and he apparently wanted to bring her so that she could write and kind of talk up what they were doing. And the whole thing was uncomfortable and weird and amateurish. And the story she tells, now I think what he thought was because she was a Mormon, that she was going to side with him and make him look good and do whatever he thought, a good Mormon would do. And that's not really what happened. So I think there's a picture of her on the floor here. I think that's her right there. So what he was looking for was basically propaganda to push, you know, to show people what was going on and what he was doing. And really the whole thing was kind of a big mess. So there's that. And the more I'm going, the more I'm like, oh, what? Why are people supporting this? Let me show you this. I'm the kind of person that I'm very conservative when it comes to money. So one of the things that it talked about in the article was looking at the financials. And I just want to show you a couple of things. I looked at multiple years, but I just want to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you their salaries first. Tim Ballard is number 2 there. You see Brad Damon. So all these, from what I understand, are friends and family. This is from 2022. These are the salaries: $546,000, $525,000. All these people making 6 figures. Now I don't know what to do. Oh, and then there's this other. There's something over here. Let me get that to go down. I thought but no. So there's more income over here. This 27. I can't remember what that was for. I think it was just like other incidentals or something that got reimbursed for, or I don't know. But anyway, so sorry if you're making that much money. You better be doing some seriously good work and not have, you know, rumors of he's not really doing anything, and we don't really see any you know, any parents going, thank you for rescuing my child and bringing my child back home. There's none. There's zero, zilch. Like, there's none, y'all. Okay, so this is 2022. This is the only other thing I'm going to show you from the 990, and you can look it up. Just look up, for any nonprofit organization, you put in the nonprofit name and put 990 after it, and you'll get it pulled up pretty much first result. So I just took a screenshot of this one portion of it because this just blows my mind. So this is, let me make this bigger. So Operation Underground Railroad, you see it up there, you see the year 2022, and this is fundraising events. Okay, so it tells you it has 2 different Spring Gala and Rise Together were the name of the events, and it shows all the numbers. Shows all the numbers there of what they made, what they spent, and get this, between those 2 fundraisers down here, look at what they made. You know what that means? That negative in front of there? They lost almost $200,000 on fundraising. So if you know about the rich, they love having those fundraisers with all the fancy, you know, meals, and you got to have entertainers, and you got to have a nice place and all that stuff. Yeah, I just said the rich, because this is what the rich do, because us poor folk down here, we're like, just give them the money, you know? Why do you need to be entertained? We're wasting all this money on the entertainment, and how much is going to the actual organization? So in this case, they lost money on their fundraisers. Now, it didn't matter because they raked in $50 million overall on all the different things, you know, people giving them money and things like that. So this $194,000 is nothing to them. It's a lot to me, but I'm thinking, dang, you know what? Maybe don't do the fundraisers, right? But you got to have the fundraisers, because the people that come to the fundraisers, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to give money to these people. They might give them more money in the future, you know, from this fundraiser, but there may not be a future. Like, do what you got to do with the money, and don't be playing around with it, because there's the people that give to these organizations, they are not rich. They're people like me that are like, oh my gosh, I want to do something about this, and, you know, send them my last $20, and, you know, I'm doing the most that I can, and this is what they're doing with people's last $20, right? So this is just super irritating to me when they're doing stuff like that. Don't act like you're rich and waste people's money when you're supposed to be saving children. So the other thing is too, I read an article, and it might be in one of the links that I shared, but he arrived at one of the events that they had in a helicopter. Like, what? I'm not going to say anymore. So then the same woman that originally got me checking into all this, I would listen to another interview from her, and she does a lot of anti-trafficking work and speaking and stuff. And so what I found out today was that the Mormon Church, here's one article, I'm sharing this link because I could not even believe it. The Mormon Church has a way of hiding sex abuse reports when people, church members, call them on their helpline, I need help, and it'll be somebody from the church that's abusing their child, and they say, well, the line that they're calling goes directly to attorneys, and the attorneys will get to them to try to keep everything quiet so that it doesn't get out in the news. And there appears to be, I have not gone too deep down into this part of it, but I think we kind of know the Catholic Church has issues, and maybe people know the Mormon Church has issues. I did not know. I always was suspicious. I have known a lot of Mormons in my time, and I love them. I'm not saying they're sexual predators or anything like that. But from researching Mormonism because of them and knowing them, I've just learned some things, and the cult is just weird anyway. But just from other things that I've listened to and watched and stuff, it's just made me super suspicious all along. But now I'm like, what the heck? So I can't remember if I mentioned that Tim Ballard is Mormon in the beginning. I know I mentioned Angel Studios, but oh yeah, Tim Ballard, the CEO, the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, he is Mormon. So my question is, dude, look at your own church. Do something about what's going on in your church. You don't have to be going to these other countries. You're a member of a church that is basically paying off people to stay quiet. And here's the thing about Mormons. They tithe. They're not like, regular, quote unquote, regular Christians that don't really tithe. Mormons tithe. They give a lot of money, and the Mormon Church is so rich, it's disgusting. And that is why seeing Angel Studios do this is how they work. This is why they have so much money. They're not stupid. They have so much money that they could pay millions and millions of dollars every year to keep people quiet, and you won't hear these stories. But if you look for them, they're on the internet. So I think there's one other thing. Now I showed you that. Okay, so the other thing that I came across today, which I thought, speaking of hand gestures, I watched an interview today with Michael Knowles and Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard. Look at his hands. I just thought, I was listening to this interview and I was like, what's he doing with his hands? That's another one of the occult hand signals. So, and in this interview as well, Jim Caviezel was kind of slow. I'm going to say this. I don't know. Of course, I don't know him personally. I know he's Catholic. What's so funny about this picture, this is 2 Catholics and a Mormon. But I know some Catholics are Christian. I know that. I don't know where he falls in that. All Catholics are not Christian. He seems to, but he's also an actor. And I do believe something is going on with him where there's a health issue potentially. And being close to his age, my brain has slowed down a lot. And it could just be, kind of brain fog kind of issue. Or I am highly suspicious that there's something going on with him that is related to all of this. I don't think, a lot of people think that, people make it big in Hollywood because they have something on them. They will put them in a compromising position, and they will maybe do a homosexual act. Let's say it's a guy, they'll have sex with a guy, and then they have it on film and they bribe them with it. Okay, I'm not saying that's happening. I don't know, who knows, but it does seem like if something like that's not going on, it really makes me wonder if during the time that he was making this movie and the time since he made the movie, he has discovered something about Operation Underground Railroad, and he wants to say something, and he wants to come out, and he's not, and he's holding it in, and it's eating him alive. That's what I personally think is happening. I think he really does believe that there is a problem at the border, and there is a sex trafficking problem out there. But I think that he realizes that all these organizations are not doing everything that they say that they're doing. Now, so what are the allegations? Basically is that Tim Ballard is saying that he's doing all these great things and he's raking in all this money, and it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. He's taking money and moving it around. He's getting more of it than what it shows that his salary is. And he's living a lifestyle that most people, some people would be like, no, he wouldn't do that. And then other people are like, so? He should be able to. You know, why wouldn't he? He's working hard. He's doing this. He's doing all these great things. He should be living this lavish lifestyle. And that's not where I'm coming from. No, you shouldn't. I don't think you should at all. You should have a servant's heart, and you should be working hard, and you should have a decent lifestyle and be able to take care of your kids and your wife and, you know, whoever else you're needing to. But there is so much going on with this organization in the background, and it's just all evil. I think that, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil is what we're talking about here. And I think that it's possible that Caviezel knows something, doesn't want to say anything because he's getting something from everybody going to see this movie too. I mean, let's be real. If nobody was going to see the movie, you know, he's not going to get as much out of it. So, but read all these articles and do the research yourself. There's more out there than what I found. This is just, you know, during the last 24 hours. Like I said, I've maybe spent 2 hours, and it took me maybe 15 minutes to find all the links. It took me time to read it and watch the videos and listen to the interviews that I watched with the woman that kind of exposed this for me. But there's so much more out there. I know that there is. And here's where I'm coming from. When there's so many people, you know, everybody says the sheep, don't be a sheep. When there's so many people saying one thing, and especially, you know, just because it's all the Christians, like if you're a Christian and all your Christian friends and all the Christian people online and all the, you know, the people that you align with are saying one thing and you're thinking differently, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It means that you're not a sheep, maybe. And, you know, in the end, the Bible says everybody ain't going to heaven. We all know that there's people that think they're Christian. We know people right now that are Christian that are worshiping a false Jesus. There's a movement, the New Apostolic Reformation, that you've maybe heard of it. You may be going to a church that, you know, is starting to follow some of that stuff and not realize it. But there are people that are full-fledged, like they are getting into some scary crap that is just demonic. And a lot of those people are the same people that you look at as Christian, conservative, evangelicals, you know, born-again Christians who are following this stuff but they're trusting all of the other people that are supporting it. Because why wouldn't they? They're all Christians. So, you know, of course, that's where the term sheep comes in. It's so funny to me when conservative Christians call Democrats or liberals sheep. It's like the sheep are on both sides, and you got to look at both sides, and you got to stay awake and see these things and pay attention and use your intuition. You know, I don't like saying wake up because we know what woke means, and I don't like saying that, but that's kind of what needs to happen. So when you start thinking something's weird here, just remember that big old group of sheep that everybody is, that you think you're supposed to be a part of, just remember not everybody's going to go to heaven in the end. And why are you being separated from them? Right? Think about it that way. And you're not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that sees all this and that feels this way. There's probably 5 other people out there. But you got to do this with everything. And I'm not going to, I'm super sad that the people that I listen to that are conservative are really pushing this movie. It's really, really just sad to me. And now I can't trust anything that they say because, and granted, here's the thing too. Okay, so Ben Shapiro, Jewish. Michael Knowles, Catholic. Charlie Kirk. Ooh, I don't think he's Catholic. I need to look him up. I know he's Christian. I don't know. Well, he calls himself Christian, so I don't think he's Catholic. But Matt Walsh, Catholic. So at least 3 out of the 4 are not Christian. So that right there, maybe I need to change who I talk to or who I listen to. And I do listen to other people as well. But that's probably why I'm seeing this stuff, because I'm listening to people from all sides and I'm not shutting down one side of the conversation. And I'm, keep both your ears open and pay attention, and don't just poo-poo something because it's coming from the other side. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not even going to look at an article if it was written by Vice. And it's like, well, then just keep being blind, because there's always some truth to something. Like I said, when I was looking at that whiteboard and they said that Tim Ballard supposedly, drew all that, well, that may not be true. Somebody did. The information's there. It's the information regardless of who did it. But it's definitely a good depiction of what he's doing and how everything's set up. But, I'm not going to necessarily believe that he was the one that did it, but I know that it's there and it's all laid out regardless of who did it. So, just stay aware, keep your ears open, and most importantly, pray every day. Pray for your eyes to be open, pray to see the truth, and keep that relationship with Jesus going, because you're going to need him in the end. You need him right now, and you're definitely going to need him in the end. And I told my kids when they're probably, 5 years ago, I said, listen, and I'm going to close with this. I said, you need to live your life and have such faith that if somebody were to come to you right now and say, if you believe in Jesus, I'm going to cut your head off, you have to be okay with that. And I know they were probably too young for me to say that, but they looked at me and they just nodded their head like they understood. And that's the reality. If you don't have the faith to withstand if somebody wants to cut your head off for that faith, then you need to be reading your Bible every day. You need to be praying. You need to be asking for that kind of faith. Because if you don't have that kind of faith, you're not going to stand up to the evil that's coming. So you guys have a good weekend, or whenever you're watching this. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.